Thank you for staying with Daybreak. Use the hashtag Daybreak at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya to tell us what you're thinking in several issues that we're talking about. Dr. Tienda was giving you a chance to finish up on this issue of county COVID-19 and audits. The main concern here is work plan, and I've had this across several counties. Busia Governor Peter Jamong was talking to me about the same thing, Bomet Governor the same thing, that they didn't have a work plan, yet it was an emergency procurement.
Well, Trevor, you know, these gentlemen are saying the same thing. It's just that you have a governor, Governor Dr. Mutua, who's been a governor for 10 years and is aspiring for higher office. But you have two honorable senators, some of whom might be aspiring. I think both of them are aspiring for the seat of governor. And therefore, they are disagreeing without any real disagreement, because they're actually saying the same thing. Yeah. There are only two things here. One, and Governor Mutua is right, and the governors are right. You cannot start asking governors, where's the work plan? Where's the budget? Where are such things for things that were unforeseeable? You cannot do that in good conscience. Because we all know, no one foresaw the advent of COVID and some of the issues around it. You can only ask, and Governor Mutua is right on that, in terms of accountability. Now that it was an emergency, did you spend public money properly? Did you use entities that were already approved? Did they give, was it spent properly? You know, those are the only questions. You can ask about accountability. You cannot start asking about planning. But on the other hand, Senator Matangi and Senator Cherigay are also right, that at the end of the day, the person who must answer those questions is the governor. You cannot pass the buck. That's all there is to that. I wish to say no more on it.
Okay. I think that's a good place to leave it at this point.
You want us to leave it at that?
Let's talk about something else now. There's other issues.
I had wanted to say something about the work plans, but it's okay, because just on the work plans, because from some of the counties that appeared, Trevor, indeed there was time to have funds reallocated to the work they were going to do along COVID. Yeah. That's a process that goes to county assemblies. If you are reallocating funds, you do that with the work plan. And designing and coming up with a work plan is not an event that's going to take a lifetime. It can be done in 2 days or 3 days because it's an emergency. Yeah. And indeed, some counties did have work plans. That's what we should be very clear about. Some of them did have, and they passed them. Yeah. And they were followed. Okay. So for the deviant or errant ones who did not, they cannot hide under that fact. Otherwise, how did they spend that money? Okay. They should have. Some counties they should have been able to design a quick work plan, take the documentation and the requirement to the county assembly, have it approved at that level. Okay.
Can I make a comment? There's a difference.
Let's do a finish on this one now.
You know, and. You know, the work plan they are asking you is a traditional work plan that is done. Procurement officer, CEOs, everybody sits down. When the emergency happened, we had to reconsider. For example, Machakos, I had to sit down with the cabinet and we worked out on a new move of how we are going now to spend our money. We said, let's cut this, let's have money to pay our health workers. Yeah. Let's put money on the side in case we don't get money from the national government. Let's start procuring beds and everything. So we had to make a decision that was made by cabinet. Now the work plan they're requesting for is the traditional PFM style work plan that goes through a long process. And that is what we are saying, let's not be ridiculous. Okay. You know, the whole idea was the money spent properly. Okay. On this issue of summoning governors, you have to ask yourself, what is the real use of summoning a governor who cannot answer the questions because the person who is in charge of answering the question is there? So you're just wasting the governor's time, anakuja anakaa hapo. It's like a court of law. You know, in a court of law, you don't go there and do hearsay. You know, you don't go and say, I had. Okay. You bring the person who actually spoke, who was responsible, to answer the questions. You don't bring somebody to sit there because they are head of a unit and they were not directly involved in the day-to-day running to tell you how it was done. And Uliza, how was it done? How was it done? And Ambia, it was done this way. And who gave the authority? Who gave the authority here? How many documents were signed? How many documents were signed? So you're a puppet.
Yeah.
Why can't you ask directly the person who was involved?
Yeah.
So it's a showmanship. And let me tell you, and let me be controversial here. I know we'll reopen this. The reason they want the governors there, and mark my words, is because it's a shakedown. Every time governors appear in front of the Senate, they are asked for money. It's a shakedown.
They asked for money.
They asked for money.
By who?
By the senators. We are always asked for money. And we've
in
talked
terms
about
of
this.
bribes or
It's
what?
bribes. We've talked to the president about this. We've talked as governors about this. We've written statements with the ESCC about it. And it is very serious. Every time governors appear, unapigiwa simu baadaye unaambiwa tukutane tuongee. Hii ni baya sana hii. Hii itakuharibia hii. Hii itakuchoma hii. Hii utafungwa
Who asked
tuongee
somebody
vizuri.
with-
Senators do that all the
allegation.
no, it's not it's there. And ask all the governors and they'll tell you. We had a COG meeting 2 days ago and we discussed it.
Yeah.
And we said this time we're going to put our foot down. Because the reason they want the governors there is because the governors are the ones you can shake down to come up with some money as a bribe so the report looks good. That is the state of corruption in this country of ours. It is not the truth they are going for. Because if it is the truth you are going for, you go for the officer who was involved. Why are you demanding for the governor to just go and sit there? So that you have an avenue of shaking down the governor. And this has to be said, and many governors will say this, and this has to stop because we need to be a country of fairness. We need to be a country whereby you can go before a judicial process and the Senate has to be respected. Senate is a judicial process,
Can we-
Now
needs to be
that's-
Now that
respected.
he's saying-
Now,
But
that's a
yeah,
whole
yeah.
different conversation. Yes, very quick response.
Well, I said
Yeah.
I'll reopen
Let-
this because
yeah.
that is the reality
I
that
think,
happens.
you have
And
allowed,
Kenyans need to know that.
You have allowed Governor Mutua to make serious unsubstantiated allegations because he knows where those allegations he can raise with the DCI and ESCC. And
He says they've already reported.
We've already
this
done
is
that.
tired defense that governors have employed. It is called strong hand tactics, where whenever we ask questions on accountability, they come up and say Senate wants to be bribed, MCAs wants to be bribed. It is not new. So what I want to ask governors is that accountability is not an option, and we shall not negotiate about it. They can make noise, they can go up trees. The DCI and ESCC is there. If there is any senator that has made a bribery demand, then the governors have a right, just like any Kenyan, to walk to DCI office.
Okay.
So you don't just wake up one day and make unsubstantiated allegations. In fact, many governors are facing allegations of corruption cases in court.
Okay.
But because of presumption of innocence, we can't say that. You remember also him, and I know he did went under an unfortunate episode where, although he was cleared later, when he was accused allegedly of purchasing used vehicles, and you remember it was harrowing experience for him, but he was later cleared of the same. So does it mean that because at that time he was being accused of violating the procurement laws of acquiring second-use cars, that didn't mean that it was corrupt? No. So we should allow the process that is in place to go through. And this issue of governors running away, hiding under their beds because we are demanding, we shall not let our foot down. Yep. They can tell anybody, even to Jesus Christ, but I can assure you, you must answer questions when you come to Senate, and it's not negotiable. Okay. Because that money you're answering about, governor, is about the Kenyan taxpayers' money. All and you are aspiring for a public office more than what you are having.
Can I just reply?
And I would request that after the show, if you visit DCI,
let's close this.
No, let me. I've made a very serious allegation. I've made a very serious allegation.
Give them a chance to respond.
Okay, Trevor, just in 2 minutes. So let me put this in perspective. I've been in the Senate for two terms now, and I want Kenyans watching first to know that immediately when we went into office, first governors, first senators, the first thing that governors did in the year 2013 was to go to court to obtain a court order that they should not appear before the Senate. That was first business. Okay. And that was after allegations were raised then by the DCI that there was impropriety and audit reports came to the Senate. Unfortunately, that time they were able to get an order barring Senate from hearing them. It took 2 long years before any governor appeared before the Senate. And then, when they were ordered to appear, they engaged in a flurry of court cases. Correct. One was taken to Embu, whereby they secured an order individually now, and including this governor, my friend here, Governor Mutua.
Yeah.
Governor Mutua has secured himself 2 orders consecutively where he should not appear before the committees of Senate.
Correct.
And indeed, at one point, it went to the extent whereby he has had to go to the Inspector General of Police himself to try and stop himself from coming to appear on the process he has talked about accountability. And then the question that would ring on Kenyans' minds, and Trevor, I think you'd help Kenyans to understand this, how many governors have been impeached on account of impropriety?
Correct.
How many governors are today facing court charges, criminal charges, out of pilfering and theft of public funds? What kind of evidence have you seen produced in open daylight of theft, stealing, and so many other things, Trevor? Okay. And so what would just like to say as we summarize this discussion is this, that, you know, unfortunately, we've had a very, very, very bad start. Okay. If you look at the report that was brought by the Auditor General in the year 2017 as we closed, these gentlemen had lost this country close to 100 billion. When county governments took over in the year 2013, there were pending bills of less than 15 billion. When we closed in 2017, the pending bills had incurred were over 100 billion in one cycle. And what you would be asking yourself then, if they don't want to be asked questions, if they want to use the kind of scapegoating you're hearing Governor Mutua here using, and it is very sad for this country that people must be ready to take responsibility for offices they take. If you're not ready as a governor to go and face the questions and consequences, then please don't run for that office.
Gentlemen, we have to switch gears. I'll give you 30 seconds to respond.
Okay, let me respond and say this. The reality is this. First of all, I've never gone to court to stop myself from being summoned to the Senate.
I've been a member of the Public Accounts Committee.
The reason I went to court is because...
You went to court twice.
One at a time, gentlemen.
No, the senators were playing games at one time. I was overseas. When you're overseas, they summon you to appear. You sent somebody to say, sorry, by the time the letter came, I was already overseas, I cannot appear. Then they say, because you do not appear, now we are summoning you, IG, akushike, akulete, which is ridiculous. Even the court asked the Senate, are you serious? You invite somebody who is overseas to appear tomorrow, I think it was in 2 days' time. The person writes and says, I'm sorry, I'm out of the country, I'm coming on this date. Can you give me another date? And then you go ahead and say, no, you have to appear. And even the travel journey cannot even allow you to be back on time to appear. The next thing is they take your, they wanted to take my meeting with them to another county that was different from my county or from where we sat in Nairobi. And in that county, they had planned, I mean, it was all hogwash. But even the courts agreed with Mutua. They said, because I said, I want to appear. But let it be fair. Let me appear when I am able to appear in a very good way. And I've always appeared because I believe in accountability. Let me say this, and this is very important. Accountability is key. Governors have to be accountable for each and every shilling that has been spent in the counties. The counties have to be accountable. But also senators have to stop asking us for money. I have been personally here. I have been asked for 10 million, 5 million, 20 million by senators. And we can name names.
And this you've reported?
We've reported.
Once you've reported
and now we are actually working with the police to actually entrap the senators. Because the country needs to know that every time you're blaming governors, but there's a system here that are trying to do a shakedown. So wananchi, when we hear the senators claiming governors have to appear, and you wonder why, it's also good for you to understand why. But I'm not saying governors should not be accountable. But I'm also saying, I don't know, Senator Charangai, maybe you're not involved. Matangi, maybe you're not involved. But I can tell you, I personally, Alfred Nganga Mutua, I have been asked for money, which I have refused to give. It's either you give money or you report. And I know governors have given money.
As we move on, and I'm not going back to the subject of debate. But it is not right, Governor Mutua, to cast general aspersions. I am not a senator. But I believe that if there are any such incidences, what you should be telling the viewers is that you have reported the individuals to the police, and if you have, you can even name the names here. But otherwise, casting general aspersions reduces the august house of the Senate generally.
Correct.
But if there are any such individuals, then you should report them and you can name them.
Correct.
Okay.
But
Well,
I think we
right.
can move on.
Well
After
guided.
the
We will
show.
do so.
All right, good, good. Let's talk about another issue here. Dr. Tienda, I'll start with you on this one. The Maraga succession intrigues. High Court has now stopped the interviews of posts of the Supreme Court judge pending a case. 4 petitioners want constitutionality of the ongoing processes determined. This has been ongoing. What happens now from here?
It's a very curious thing, and I tweeted about it. I have been a very serious supporter of an independent judiciary, of a judiciary that is innovative, and even of what some people have called judicial activism. I think it's a good thing. I think the judiciary must be proactive and assertive. But lately I'm starting to get worried about what I have now termed as judicial overreach. The judiciary must be aware that in the course of exercising judicial powers, you must be alive to what's happening in the country. You must be alive to certain realities. For example, if today the judiciary was to say, we are not going to hold elections in 2022, that would be an instance of judicial overreach. It is right for the judiciary to speak about certain measures, about the elections, why it should be held and how it should be held, but it can't, for example, come and say that we cannot hold elections. The judiciary, for example, and this is theoretical, about BBI, for example, the judiciary can talk about a lot of things about it, you know, whether it's, this or that is right, but ultimately, for example, you cannot stop a people from deciding whether they want to change a constitution that they had given themselves, okay? About the CJ, I've not read the entirety of the ruling, but I've seen the snippets. And I've seen that there are people who went to complain about the process, you know, about what the Judicial Service Commission should do or not do. And in my respectful opinion, I think it's reckless for 3 judges to suggest that the body that is constitutionally entitled to determine, to propose who should be the next Chief Justice ought not to do it because some unknown Kenyans think that the process has issues. The issues of process can be determined even after. Yeah. It cannot be a reason to stop the process. Now, for 3 judges to make a decision like that is fundamental, and obviously it requires some level of examination, but I think it is dangerous. The judiciary should be alive to the fact that certain constitutional processes cannot be lightly stopped.
Should the vetting stop now? Because if it doesn't stop, then the same judiciary...
as far as I understand, they did not say the vetting needs to stop. As far as I understand, one, they said that the process of vetting the judge of the Supreme Court, which has not started, ought not to go on. And secondly, they suggested that the determination of the outcome of this process in terms of recommending who ought to be the CJ is what ought not to happen. But I think both are a bit reckless. I think it is, there are some areas, you know, if you think that the process is flawed and all, you need not stop it because the process can be nullified even after. Okay. Just like the other 5-judge bench, when they were asked to stop the BBI process, said no. We cannot stop Parliament. Let Parliament go on because if something illegal happens, we can always declare it null and void later. Okay. And that is what they should have done with this. Okay. It is reckless to stop an important process like this.
I think we have been following these Judicial Service Commission interviews. And already Kenyans know who will be the CJ.
They
I
do?
don't know why
They do?
Kenyans
I
would
know.
choose to
Who is that?
You know, the CJ.
You know, maybe-
Kenyans know.
I like that.
Kenyans already
Very
know
well.
who is the CJ, and unfortunately, I think the serious candidates were interviewed this week, and most likely, we know who is the CJ at this point. But two things that I would want to make clear. I have tried to. I've not read the fine print of that ruling by Justice Murima and other judges.
Yeah.
Is that some of the issues there, I think I can just say two things. That the petitioners moved to court challenging Professor Olive Mugenda from chairing the interview because there is an acting CJ who is DCJ, and the argument was that the person who should chair those Judicial Service Commission interviews was supposed to be DCJ Philomena Mbete Mwilu.
Yeah.
That was one of the accusations. And number two, that Professor Olive Mugenda, being the chairperson of Kenyatta University Hospital, she's already a state officer. But that beside the point, I think under Article 10, the issue that they challenge, and you know, when you look under Article 159 of the Constitution of Kenya, the judicial authority that is being exercised originates from the people.
Yeah.
So the fact that the people can question the entire process, but I agree with the judges that in the famous Wambora case on impeachment, at that time, is that the court said you cannot stop a process midway.
Yeah.
You can only challenge the principle of Wambora case, that you can only challenge that process after the completion. And I agree with my senior counsel on that basis. Okay. So on this aspect of JSC doing context, and I think the judges, the Kenyans should know that the judges did not stop the procurement, the process of recruitment. They only stopped the deliberations of those interviews. Okay. But I think it is exercised in futility because the CJ is known. And the reason even Professor Olive Mugenda is chairing that interviews is because they want a certain candidate to win. And of course, he should be blue-eyed boy.
What is it with grave allegations this morning here?
There was the perception, the word on the corridors of justice and the word on corridors of power is because, and even in social media, is senior counsel Fred Ngatia is likely to be the next CJ of this country. And it
this
is good
decided
to know
you're not even part of the JSC, but
no, that is what that is the perception, and you had even commissioners asking those questions. Okay. That senior counsel Fred Ngatia is likely to be the next CJ because of how the things have been done. But my final submission would be, and I would want to appeal to JSC because one, they should look at the composition of Supreme Court, number one. And number two, in as much as they want to feel that Judge J.B. Ojwang, I think J.B. Ojwang did retire, is that they should be careful that when they are doing ethnic composition, and I say respectively, not to incite against the issues of negative tribalism, that they should sit and look at the ethnic composition of the Supreme Court. Okay. And be very careful on who is the next CJ and the next person to be replaced in the Supreme Court. Because justice should not be done, it should be seen to be done. Okay. There should be perception by the public that they have confidence in Supreme Court, that they have confidence as a public in the judiciary. So when you get it wrong at the judiciary, and I want to call upon GSC, that they should have the heart of Kenyans. They should look at regional balance. They should read Article 10. They should look at the